So this is part 2 of my Nissan Rogue Star Wars Rogue One review, and we're going to focus more just on the Rogue as a crossover, not so much its Star Wars aspect. Now, out on the open road, driving the Rogue as a crossover in general, I have to say, it's pretty good. Let's start with the powertrain. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder connected to a CVT transmission. Front wheel drive most of the time, all wheel drive selectable. That makes 170 horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque. And more importantly, it's going to give you some pretty good fuel economy numbers, 25 in the city, 32 on the highway, and 27 combined. Pretty good numbers for the size of this crossover. And in general, the CVT for the most part is really the only demerit. It works quite well most of the time. There are some times though when it is a little bit annoying. I liked the CVT in the Maxima, not as much in the Juke. I feel like it was the middle ground here in the Rogue. But nonetheless, it is a CVT, so you're going to have to test drive it to see how you feel about it. There is a sport mode and an eco mode that does change the feel of it, and that helps a little bit depending on what you're looking for. Driving dynamics, it's kind of sporty. The steering is pretty light and quick. The handling is reasonably snappy, but that also makes for a slightly rougher ride, I would say. And these are only 17-inch wheels, so you do feel some stuff out there, which is a little surprising given the smallish diameter of the wheels. But the biggest complaint in terms of driving dynamics is I feel like the powertrain is just a little loud. The engine's a little bit loud. I'm leaving a stop sign here. Let's see if you can hear it. You get that CVT buildup, and then that kind of groan, and then but it does get moving the way it needs to for the most part. It's not particularly fast, and I will say compared to something like the Escape, the 2-liter EcoBoost kills this thing for sure. As far as the 4-cylinders go, you get a 4-cylinder in the RAV4 and also an Escape as the base, and then the 4-cylinder here, the naturally aspirated. It's pretty good. Now, in terms of space, I have to say, I think the Rogue might have them all beat. Second row space is quite good. It moves fore and aft, and it does recline, not a lot, but it does recline, which is helpful. And then behind the second row, the Rogue has a trump card, really, and that's that you can get it with a third row. I'm sure it is absolutely teeny, but it is available, and that's important. And then, if you're not using that third row, it does have the most cargo space of those three, and those are 3 that I've tested and driven, so I'm kind of comparing those. You can get a couple of good-sized suitcases back there, and I think if you stacked them up, you might even be able to get 4 full-size suitcases back there. And there's some storage underneath, which is also quite helpful. The giant moonroof is pretty nice. It's pretty fun. This flat bottom steering wheel does give you kind of a sense of sportiness, and the sound system is quite good. It's got a lot of bass for rocking your pop tunes on XM radio. As far as pricing goes, it is important to note that you can pay a little bit more for a Rogue if you get the SL. It adds leather, navigation, power liftgate, stuff like that. That's really helpful. And that's going to compare with like the titanium and stuff like that, the premium with the RAV4 and the Escape as well. So this isn't quite top tier, but at $31,000, it's not exactly cheap either. Yeah, so you got to decide if that $4,000 for the package is worth it, because then otherwise you're down at around 26, 27. But nonetheless, it's a compelling package as a crossover, with the Star Wars edition just giving you some flair and something a little bit different. So I definitely recommend driving the Rogue and checking it out, because it's got some features that are worth noting. As a practical everyday transportation, I think it could be a compelling package for quite a few people. I need to give a shout out to Corley Nissan of Gallup, New Mexico for letting me drive the Rogue. They only got 4 of these Rogue One editions in, and they wanted to make sure I got to drive one, so I really appreciate those guys. I appreciate you guys liking, subscribing, and sharing, and checking this one out. Tell your friends.